So we're moving on to code generation for Turtle language, and the Turtle language had already some blocks like this repeat, which are blocks from the Blockly library, and this number here, and only some of them are custom, right? Our routine and run routine, and then our repeat, turn, and move, they were all custom, but the other ones, they already come from the Blockly library, and thus they are directly supported by some of the existing code generators. Now we want to simulate this program on, well, our browser or some other place, right? If we say run, it's going to simulate this program right here. And how can it run it in the browser? Well, it generates JavaScript. So what we need to do is we need to generate JavaScript from this Blockly program. And that's what we show down here. But then this JavaScript basically needs to call some of the API of our simulator so that we can actually see the robot or the turtle moving and drawing things on the screen. So now we're not going to generate pseudocode, which is maybe nice to look at, but not directly executable. We're directly going to generate executable code. And since we want to run it in the browser, that's going to be JavaScript code. So we're not going to define a new plain generator. We're going to use a JavaScript generator directly from Blockly. That we're going to import that. So let's have a look at the code. The place where we're going to implement it is the same in our generator TypeScript file. And now here we're directly taking the JavaScript generator instead of creating a new generator from scratch. But still, there are some blocks that we haven't yet, that the JavaScript generator has no clue of how to implement them, right? So we need to do that for our custom blocks, for the turtle move, for the turtle turn, and for this routine definition and routine call. And the way we're going to do that, they have the same signature as before. They get the block, they get the generator, and return a string. And then this follows the same pattern that we have seen before. So either we get field values, so for these drop-down boxes of the direction and of the turning and of the move, we simply get the value, and then we also get the number of either pixels or degrees, the distance here for the move, the number of pixels to travel, and then here the direction and the angle. And then we're going to generate code. So simply for the signed distance, we're going to check if we go forward, we're going to have the distance in a positive way. If we go backward, we have the distance in a negative way. And then we generate a call to the method move of the turtle object. Now, this is defined in that's basically the API that we generate our code against. Usually, we will not generate this whole logic of how to simulate a turtle drawing things on the screen. We will simply implement that once and then give it some kind of, call this maybe a runtime environment, and then we're just going to generate code that will run in our runtime environment. So that the actual code that we're generating for this turtle move block, that's just a call to turtle.move with some distance. And that's the code that we saw here generated. So for the move, just going to call the turtle move and then the distance. If we move backward again, then for some number, then it's going to have a negative 10. So there is some difference between the API of the simulator, so our runtime environment that we generate the code against for. This runtime environment only can move either positive or negative, but it has no clue what is backward and forward. Our block language is on a different level of abstraction. It only knows a distance and a direction. And now somebody has to close this gap between the two abstractions. And that's what our code generator does. So our code generator says, well, this is the language that the user might want to think in, moving forward some pixels, moving backward some pixels. but the language to talk to the actual simulation is a bit simpler. It can only move a distance, and this distance can be positive or negative, right? So this transition between the two abstraction levels, this happens in the code generation. And it might be somewhat hidden here, but it's basically assembled into this. We are translating this combination of two values of the direction and the distance into either a negative distance or a positive distance. And then we're issuing this method call. We're generating code for this method call. We do a similar thing in the turning angle, that's in degrees. There's some default. If nothing is given, then we're just going to turn 90. But what actually happens here, we're checking, do we turn right? And then we take the positive angle. If we turn left, then we take a negative angle. So that's the same kind of logic again. The simulator only knows turning by some number of degrees. This can be positive or negative. And this thing here has to then calculate, or code generator has to then basically translate these two different levels of abstraction. And of course, this is also from a completely different language, right? This is the language of Blockly blocks into the language of JavaScript, but not plain JavaScript that generates everything. Basically, we already implemented some reoccurring things, some complexities of the simulation. We implemented that in plain JavaScript in the simulator. We didn't generate that. We're only generating the code that basically bridges this gap, and that's a very common pattern that you do in code generation. And then you call these things like the environment or the runtime framework or runtime environment, so that not all of the code is always regenerated. The runtime environment can simply be shipped with the generated code. Now the more tricky block is the routine definition. So here we actually need to get the definitions which are stored inside the JavaScript generator, and we can't write to that because this record, we can't write directly to this. So we can basically update it and add to this map the routine for some given, routine name. And this will be a JavaScript function that has the name of the field value routine name in our block. And if that doesn't have a name, then it's unnamed routine. So basically, for a routine definition block, that's this one here, we're generating this function, myTask, and then we're generating the code content that we placed here. So right now, this body is empty, but we would, if there was a body, we would basically generate code for that body as well. So maybe let's add somebody. So we have a function myTask, which calls myTask. Maybe that's not the most clever piece of code. If we run it right now, nothing really happens. But if we run, let's get rid of this and just run myTask and have this function myTask. Then what's going to happen? Nothing. That's odd. We should probably, switch to Chrome. Where's the developer stuff? More tools. Developer tools. Yeah, uncaught in promise, range error, maximum call stack size exceeded. So we had a stack overflow error, right? If we press this, it crashes because we have a recursive call here. So that's not a clever way of defining this. Maybe that's a better way here. We're going to call a function that simply moves 5 pixels forward. Yeah, not seeing much. Let's do 50 pixels. Yeah, okay. So the code to allow this is generating this function for the routine name and then putting the code that we generated from the body. Now, this is the routine definition, and then we have a routine call. So what do we need to do for the routine call? That's this one here. This also has a drop down. this dropdown was automatically populated based on the routine names that we have defined here. So we could do, I don't know, main, or yeah, I don't know. So then calling, we could decide which one to call, right? So this is automatically populated once we initialize this block. Now, that's how we could call it, but we would simply generate a method call to this method, right? So here we're simply getting the routine name, and then what we're printing is the routine name and opening and closing parentheses. Well, very simple. That's our code generator. We didn't have to generate code for numbers. That's done automatically. We didn't have to generate code for this repeat. That's also done automatically. And basically, most of the standard blocks that we could use for Blockly, they are automatically supported by the code generator because we use this off-the-shelf JavaScript code generator. So just to demonstrate this, we could maybe add another block. We already have a comma here. We had this math arithmetic in the previous example. We're just adding this to the workspace, right? We didn't even define this block. It's an existing block. Now let's see if we can use it in our code generator. Here it is. And it automatically, so let's try to place it here. Now the 20 is gone. Let's do a 20, I don't know, let's 20 minus 2. Then we see it automatically generates code for this arithmetic thing, and I can execute it now. It's a bit smaller because we're not going 20 pixels, we're only going 20 minus 2 pixels forward, right? So the standard blocks, they'll automatically be supported by the code generator. We don't need to do anything. If we had added those to our custom code generator, we would have to support every single block. Otherwise, it would tell us, oh, I don't know this block, I can't generate code for it, right? So that's the that's already the definition of the code generator. And then we need to integrate it again. So we're integrating it in a very similar way into our workspace. We have the import somewhere up here, the generator. Then we're going to call it on our workspace to with this get generate code. That's a string. And this method we're going to call, why do we call it here? In the showcode lambda function, we basically taking this code, putting it in the code output, and then also return it. But we're not yet executing it here, right? So the way to execute it, that's then when we, so that we add this @change listener, and the way to execute it, we basically have to press this run button, and then we're going to run the turtle program with the generated code on the simulator instance. So this run simply resets the simulator and then executes our generated code on the turtle API. And that one had here move with a number as distance and turn with an angle. So the stuff that we want to simulate, this basically executes distance and move and turn commands here on this API. Yeah, so the simulator is rather complicated. We're just going to trust it, although we saw that it has some bug, right? The moving upwards, the number of pixels is not the same as moving right, but never mind. So this is how we integrate the code generator in a similar way as before, but now it's generating JavaScript code, and this JavaScript code is automatically executed on the API of the code generator.